Steve here, and today we're going to look at the 2022 Ford Mustang Mach E. And the one in behind me is the premium version of the vehicle, and it's also the E all-wheel drive. Now, before we dive in, I want to give Formula Ford a huge shout out and a thank you for letting me use this thing for the day to shoot the video for you guys. Check down below for their contact details, and you can also find the build link for this one and a number of other vehicles that I've done on the Mach E that you can look through at your own convenience. Now, I do also want to thank you so much for helping the channel grow the way that it has. Like, it's still kind of mind-blowing that we just passed 10,000 subscribers. But let's dive into the Mach E and unpack this thing and see what it's all about. Now, the Mach E does have a series of different trim levels that are available. So you've got the Select, the Premium, the California Route 1, as well as the GT. And the GT has either the regular GT or the Performance Edition, whether you're in Canada versus the States. Because in Canada, we can only get the GT Performance. So I'm like waiting for the GT Performance to be available because the power in that thing is ridiculous. It's pretty much a track-ready electric. Not saying that this Premium isn't. This thing is absolutely stunning, especially in this red. I love it. Those like red and black highlights are really, really sharp. But looking at the wheels, the Mach E does have the option for either 18, 19, or 20-inch tires, depending on the version of the vehicle you're in. Because we're in the Premium, we are looking at 19-inch tire, and it does look fairly sharp. Like, it's interesting looking at EVs and how they all have this different style rim instead, but with the Pony, you know it's there because we've got our Mustang right along the very middle of the rim, so it does pop nicely. We've got these great looking wheel well moldings as well, and body moldings rockers that go all the way across in this nice black highlight. It is plastic, but it's kind of got like a gloss to it that makes it look fairly sharp. And that's the thing, like the colors inside of the Mach E are absolutely incredible. I love what Ford's done with this thing. Now, there are a few small changes from the 21 to the 2022 model, specifically looking at the range. I guess even looking last year, the range was still pretty good, but you can get over 500 kilometers on a single charge inside of this vehicle now, which is unbelievable. But we'll get to the range in a second. That overall styling inside of this thing is great. Moving towards the front end of the vehicle, this one does have the forward sensing system. Now, when you're inside of the base version of the vehicle, we've got the option for the Comfort Technology package, which will give you a few other things. But one of the great things about the premium version is it's fairly fully loaded as is. We've got our front-facing camera, side view mounted cameras, and our backup camera, which give us a full 360 view. On top of that, this thing's got the option for Park Assist. So Park Assist, I have put together a video on that one specifically. Those kind of black molding highlights that we saw, it carries through the bottom part of the bumper, even into the part of the hood right above the Pony where that front-facing camera is. So it looks really sharp, and I love all the different body moldings and things like that. Like, this thing pops. And that's really what Ford wanted to drive home with the introduction of the Mach E. It's the future of cars, essentially. We're looking at the shift from gas-powered into EVs instead, and I think Ford has done a fantastic job, and you've got that brand recognition behind you. Like, Ford's been around for a very long time, and just seeing how these guys have just grown from where they were, like starting with the Model A, all the way up to this thing, absolutely amazing. Charging the Mach E is also a very straightforward process. So along the front of the driver's side there, we've got a little cutout, pop this thing open, and then we've got our different plugs that are available there. So we've got our top versus bottom. So we've got a 120, 240, you've got the option for supercharging inside of this thing on top of that. Now, the numbers are all over the place, but I'm gonna get to the numbers in a second. Inside, on the actual side that flips open here, we've got another little Pony. It's got our horsepower badge underneath that. And then on the inside here, we've also got a charge indicator light. So how full is the battery? And we can tell that from the outside here, which is fantastic. And one of the amazing things about the Mach E is that inside of the Sync 4 media screen inside of the vehicle, we've got the flexibility of being able to set our departure times and comfort as well. So if you're going to be leaving at the same time every day, you can set that so that the cabin's automatically going to be heated or cooled as necessary depending on the time of year. And one of the other amazing things is you can also set up what times you want the vehicle to be charging at different locations. So if you're at home and you only want this thing to be charging between, let's say, 11 o'clock at night and 7 in the morning when you're in your off-peak electricity rates, you've got the flexibility to do that. So it's incredible. Now, looking at the charge times, inside of the Mach E, we do have a 20-foot cable that's going to come standard, and that's going to support either 120 or 240. So could you technically do just your regular wall outlet? Yes, but like, it's ridiculous. Like, you're like 95 plus hours to take this thing from 0 to fully charged. Very stark difference for if you're using the level 2 instead, because that home charger includes the option for either level 1 or 2, which is amazing. Now, if you're looking at supercharging this thing, it's crazy how fast it can go, and it is recommended you only go up to 80% using that fast charging instead, and then just charge the rest, that 80 to 100, when you're back at home. But overall, like I said, styling inside of this thing is great. I love how simple the door is for charging up the vehicle. So again, Ford has done an incredible job just on the basic design elements of this vehicle. Getting underneath the hood of the Mach E is very straightforward. So just to the left-hand side of the pedals, we've got our little release. We're just gonna pull on that twice and we're inside. Now, one of the nice things, this thing is also on hydraulics. So you don't have to worry about putting anything, those sticks and things like that up. It's just up and it stays. And taking a peek inside, I guess we've got our Frunk, is what Ford's calling it, and it's our front trunk. And it's interesting because you look at EVs and you don't have much underneath the hood because it's all battery powered. So what Ford's done is they've given us a great amount of space inside of this thing. We've got a little plug underneath, so you could literally use the front end as a cooler. So you're going camping, whatever the case may be, just toss a bunch of ice inside of this thing and you can drain it out later if you'd like to, but this is really nice. We've got a nice amount of storage there. There is a little release in case somebody gets stuck on the inside here. They could maybe fit, but there is a release there. And then we've got our pony badge right along the very top here, which kind of, it pops out nicely. It's got some nice highlights to it on the inside there, which is always a nice thing. Now, I'd mentioned it earlier, if you're not a big fan of maintaining your vehicles, an electric might be the way you should go, because really there's not much you have to worry about underneath the hood. We've got our windshield wiper fluid, and that's about it. Like, there's really not much else other than that underneath the hood here. But I mean, it's fantastic because if you don't like to maintain your vehicles, it's really just the windshield wiper fluid, the tires, and then the brakes that you have to worry about. So much more maintenance free in comparison to your regular gas vehicles instead. All right, taking a peek along our driver's side door. So a few things to point out. You might just be able to make it out there, but we've got a few different numbers on the outside of the door. So one of the great things there is that we can enter in a 5-digit number if we want to unlock the door, but we also have the flexibility of pushing these two bottom buttons if we want to lock the door, which is fantastic. Unlocking, locking, etc. We can also push the button there. You can see it kind of popped open for me. And here we go. Let's take a look. Let's take a look. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful, but we'll get to the inside in just a second. We've got a great looking door here, so we've got nice white highlights. We've got our black leather along the top and a nice metallic highlight throughout the door. White stitching all the way throughout there on top of that, so it looks fantastic. Looking along the driver's side door, we also have a series of seat memory buttons, so 3 individual profiles. We've got our unlock and our lock button, and then we've got all of the options for our windows. So we can power fold our side view mirrors, we can lock out the rear windows, basic side view mirror control, window up and down. We've got our little storage handle as well as our little release for the door. So this is actually the door handle. So that's how you open up the door from the inside. Moving down from there, we also do have our Bang & Olufsen badge because this specific one has the 10-speaker Bang & Olufsen sound system, which is going to be standard inside of the premium version of the Mach E. And then from there, let's brighten you up a little bit. We also do have a little storage compartment right along the driver and the passenger door. Moving along the inside, we've got this Mustang badge right along the scuff plate there, and that's to the driver passenger side. Looking at the driver's seat, so we do have a few different options there, but we can go forwards, backwards, up and down. We can move our backrest, and then we've got our 2-way lumbar support on top of that. But overall, the seats inside of this thing look fantastic. I love it. But taking a peek just to the left-hand side of the steering wheel. So the steering wheel itself is going to be a manual telescoping, so we just crank this down, slide out the wheel as necessary, and then a series of other options on the inside. So we've got our max windshield defroster, figure out what's going on with our running lamps. I always recommend keeping it on this auto setting. We've also got our increase and decrease button, so we can increase or decrease the brightness of the cluster screen, and then we can also toggle our traction control system on or off. As we move down, we do have our 2 pedals, but one of the great things is that this thing has the option for 1-pedal driving, where we only have to worry about the accelerator, which is great. On top of that, we also do have the release for the frunk, so if we want to get underneath, we just pull this twice in order to be able to unlock. Well, this is really, really nice. I absolutely love what Ford's done with the Mach E. The seats, first impression, great amount of bounce to it, good amount of cushion, the headrest is super comfortable, and listen to this. Okay, so we've got a 4-way adjustable headrest, so we can go up and down with it, and then we can also lift this thing forwards as well if we need to kind of help support our neck a little bit more. But like I said, comfort inside of this is fantastic. Next up, taking a peek at the steering wheel for the vehicle. So this is going to be a full walk around of the steering wheel as well as the little cluster screen there. But let's dive into it. So the cluster does technically have 2 available choices for the color. So we've got our base black color, but we've got the flexibility of changing around the color scheme if we want to. So on our Sync 4 media screen, we press the little car icon along the top. We're going to go into our settings. We're going to scroll all the way down to, not all the way down, but we're going to go to our display, and we've got our instrument cluster. So we've got either the auto, light, or dark mode. Auto means that it's automatically going to jump us between either the dark or the light mode, just depending on how bright it is outside. But we can also permanently lock the day or the nighttime mode out there as well, just depending on what you like the look of. And that's the same way for the Sync 4 screen. But if you want to walk around on that screen and figure out how everything works, check down below for that walkthrough on that Sync 4 media screen. But let's dive into this and figure out exactly what we need to know. So some base things. Along the very bottom left-hand side, we can see our current range as well as our current battery percentage. So we can see exactly how charged up we are. We've got our sensing system there on top of that. So one of the cool things is that we do have a few different options for the actual sensors. So we can turn this lane keeping system on, off, etc. As you can tell, obviously the system's off, but we turn it back on. Once we hit 64 kilometers an hour, the system's going to go green. So it's going to let us know that it's recognized the lane markings. And then as we start to veer over, so if we veer over without signaling, we can also set it up so we get either a steering wheel shake, we get a little gentle nudge back into our lane, or it does a mixture of both of them. But what's going to happen is as you start to veer over into a lane without signaling, the way that we're going, so if we're veering to the right, it's going to go yellow and then red on this side. And then what that means is it's going to then gently either nudge you back into your lane, do a mixture of both, or obviously if you've got the system off, nothing will happen instead. So you've got quite a few different options that are available there, and you can turn that system on or off, as I mentioned, just by pressing this button along the very bottom. As you can see, we're also in miles per hour and the kilometers per hour, and we can easily adjust that again through this cluster, through the media screen. So we can adjust whatever we'd like to there. We also do have our current gear that we're in. So we've got our park, reverse, neutral, drive. We've got our low gear there as well. So you can see there. And then we've also got the auto hold setting that's currently turned on. So one of the cool things about the auto hold setting is that if we take our foot off the brake, it's going to hold the car in place. So it's a very, very smart system there. As you can see, we can also look into neutral there. So we've got a few different options that are available, throwing ourselves back into park again. So very, very straightforward. We've got the direction that we're facing. We've got the vehicle's ready status. The lane keeping system you can see is turned on there. So a few different ways that it's going to show that it's on, as well as our current odometer reading. So we've got our range on the left, we've got our current odometer on the bottom right-hand side of that screen. So really, really nice that we've got that as an available option inside the vehicle. Now the whole steering wheel itself is actually going to be a manual telescoping. So just down by our left knee, we've got a little lever there. We're just going to click that, and then it's forwards, backwards, up and down as necessary. I'm just going to take that bad boy, click it in order to lock it back into place. So very, very straightforward. And stick on the left-hand side, we can either easily flash our high beams out if we want to. Stick on the right-hand side, we can control what's going on with our windshield wipers for the front and then for the rear. So there's a little tip on that right stick to turn that system on or off as necessary. Pad on the left-hand side is going to be for our adaptive cruise control system. So you can see the system turned on there as we press the button on the left-hand side, and then we can either increase or decrease 1 kilometer or 1 mile per hour at a time just by moving this up and down as necessary. Turn the whole system on, off. There's a button on this side of it there, and that's going to be our distance indicator. So how close or how far are we away from the vehicle that's in front of us? I want you to kind of think of it like that old school, like 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi rule. So it is kind of nice that we've got that as an available option. And then as I mentioned, we do have our lane keeping system that we can toggle on or off as well. And then we can turn the whole adaptive cruise system on or off. So we do have quite a few different options available there. Along the right-hand side, we've got our voice command prompt. So we'd be able to do things like change songs, radio stations. We can navigate using our voice. But one of the great things about the Sync 4 system is that we can also have it set up so that it'll listen for a wake word. So in this case, I've got it set up so that if we say, "Okay, Ford," this is going to turn on automatically as well. So we do have the flexibility through the screen in order to be able to set that up, but it is nice. We can just do a button press instead if we want to. We do also have the option of answering or hanging up on a phone call. We can change between active sources, or active songs, I should say. So if we go audio on for a second there, we can then just do a press there in order to jump between our active presets. So you can see it kind of jumping in between presets there. Or we can do a press and hold if we want to seek that way instead. So it's just a long press and hold there, which is great. So nice and simple to be able to use. Now, one of the good, NPR, nice, all right. And one of the cool things is that we can use this in order to activate our Siri and Google Assistant. So if we were connected through Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, we can just do a longer press there in order to activate Siri or Google instead, which is amazing. Now, doing a quick little horn test. Now, one other thing to point out, using the voice command prompt, we can do things like change songs, radio stations, things like that, but we can also navigate using our voice. So watch this. Navigate to Tim Hortons.
Please choose. Starting route to Tim Hortons. Please drive to highlighted
Boom.
route.
So as you can see there, right in the middle screen, it also lets us know a few different things. So it tells us along the far side there in the middle, how long we have in order for the route to be completed, and then what turn are we gonna do. So we're driving straight right now, but it's gonna let us know, do we go left, right, whatever the case may be. And then moving over to the side screen there, as you can see, it activates the map for us, and we can easily cancel out the route. So we do have quite a few different options available. Now you might also see these two little purple things that are kind of highlighting there. It's actually the Blue Cruise feature. So this thing does have the Blue Cruise feature built in, which is essentially going to be hands-free driving. Now, unfortunately, I haven't been in a vehicle that's not sold yet for the 22, so I can't show you how the Blue Cruise feature works, but it's very straightforward. It's essentially the adaptive cruise control system on steroids, because the adaptive cruise, we technically do need to keep our hands on the wheel, but with the Blue Cruise, it's a completely hands-free driving experience instead. So once I have the opportunity to use the Blue Cruise feature, absolutely we'll put a video together for it. If that video is available, check down in the description below, because I will have it come up as an available option for you to watch. Interesting like cloth material across the top part of the dash, which marries the look of the speakers as well. So it's kind of neat, really neat the way that that looks. And we've got a nice metallic highlight that follows through the door all the way through the bottom part of the dash. Like a nice kind of like weave texture. Like it's not carbon fiber, I don't think, but it's got a nice feel to it overall. And then we've got a split of leather on top of that. This is going to be the main screen that you're typically going to be met with when the vehicle's first turned on. So we're going to go line by line so you can learn everything you need to know about the Sync 4 screen. Starting off at the very top, we do have our little car icon there, and that's going to let us go into a series of different drive modes. We've got our auto updates that are available there, so you can see update was successful, and these are going to be the over-the-air updates, so that just goes away once the update's been applied successfully. We've got a little hamburger icon, which is going to give us a few more advanced options. We've got our data transfer along the top right side to see if we're actively connected there, our outside temperature, as well as our current time. So starting off in the very top, we've got our little Mach E car along the top left-hand side, and we're going to go line by line. Different drive modes, we do have 3 available choices there. So our Whisper, Engage, and Unbridled. And each mode is going to do something different. If you're a big fan of the performance of the vehicle and you really want to unlock truer performance, the Unbridled is absolutely the way to go. So that's funny. Exhilarating drive, which is absolutely the case, but it does give it improved performance when we look at the Unbridled mode instead. We've also got the one-pedal driving as an option there, so rather than using the accelerator and the brake, you only really have to worry about the accelerator pedal, because if we take our foot off the accelerator, it will slow the vehicle down fairly rapidly in comparison. Like you still could technically use the brake, but it's not really necessary with that one-pedal driving. We've got our auto ambient light selection, and we've also got the propulsion sound. So this is an electric vehicle, but if you do prefer the sound of something, you do have the option of having that propulsion sound there as well, which gives us a nice kind of little boost as we go to the sound on the outside, which is kind of neat. And that's going to be the basics of our drive modes there. Next up, we've got our camera. So we do have the option for the full 360 camera inside of the vehicle, and it's going to depend on which version of the vehicle you're in and how you have the rest of your vehicle configured. So this is the this is the premium version of the vehicle we're looking at, not the GT, but the premium, and it does have that 360 camera. It's available in the Select and a few other trims as well. But we've got our base 360 view. We can push the little plus icon there in order to be able to zoom into certain parts of the vehicle as well. So we can kind of move forwards, backwards as necessary. We can do a front partial view if we want that, or we can also do a front 180-degree view. So it's going to depend on what you're doing. Like obviously if you're pulling out from underground parking, or if you're pulling out of a tight space, you want to make sure nobody's coming from the left or the right-hand side. This is where we go in order to be able to adjust that. We can also turn out that reverse sensing that we get, so that beeping as we get as we back up if you don't want that. And out from there, we've got our, so back into camera again, but we do have to press the X button to get out of it. We've got some advanced driver assistance settings. So we've got our base setting, which is just the auto hold. What auto hold's going to do is if you come to a complete stop and take your foot off the brake, it's going to hold the vehicle in place. We've got some additional settings, which are going to jump us into this part of the screen. We'll get to that one once we get to the settings panel there. We've got some added options for access there as well. So if we want to, we can either pop the hood if we want to. We can also pop the trunk there. We have also got our unlock for the charge cord and then our charge port light. So on the outside, we can turn our light on or off as well. It is kind of neat that we've got the flexibility of controlling it through this middle screen. And it's really nice. As you can see there, it shows us that we also are popping these things up and down as we go. So we can open, we can pause, and then we can close right from the inside here. And the animation update. So I love that we've got that option. Now, we also do have our parking there. So navigate to parking, or we've got our active park assist. We do have to hit the park assist button in order to turn this on, but we can now hit park assist and the vehicle can help us out with both parallel and perpendicular parking. So we've got our base park there. So we've got our active park for parallel. We've got our perpendicular park, and then we've got our parallel park out. Now, by default, all of these are going to look on the right-hand side. We could push the left arrow, or use our turn stick, and we can go left or right in order for it to look on the left versus the right side. And that's going to be for either or. But let me show you the process and how using the park assist system works inside the vehicle. Using the park assist system is very straightforward. We've got a little P button right down our center stack there, right by our shifter. So to the right-hand side of the shifter, we just push that little P button. In a vehicle, we've got our active park assist. It can help us out with parallel parking, perpendicular parking, or parallel park out. And by default, it's going to look to the right side on all of these things, but we can have it go to the left side just by pressing that stick. So we just go up, down with our turn signals to look on the left or the right-hand side. For the demonstration purposes right now, I'm going to look on the left-hand side for the parallel park. So what we're going to do, we're just going to shift into drive. I'm going to buckle up for safety, even though I'm going in a parking lot. You never know. Things can happen. And we're just going to follow the directions. So we're just going to start driving forward. And we're waiting for the car to let us know that it's found a spot. It's looking on the left-hand side, so we should have one right here. Perfect. Okay, so it's found a spot. So all we need to do now, so if we look at the screen, all we have to do is release the steering wheel. We just need to shift ourselves into neutral. Foot off the brake, which I know the first couple times you do this, you're probably going to freak out. So you can still hover over the brake if you really want to. But from there, we're just going to press and hold that little P button again. And hands off the steering wheel, hands off the brake. The car is going to do everything for us. So it's backing us up. It's going a little quick. It's kind of nice. Ooh, that is tight. Oh, that's good though. That is perfect. Probably couldn't have done that more perfect myself. Like, this is so good. I love it. Love it. But a few seconds in, 3, 2, and we can see there's a little countdown timer going at the same time. And there it is. Park assist feature is finished, and it's that simple using the parallel park system. So since we're here, let's do a parallel park out, which is equally as simple. We just hit that little P button again, active park assist, and we look on the far, oh, it's nice. It's defaulted us to the park assist there. And I want to go to the right-hand side now. So I want to leave to the right. So we can go left, right, whatever the case may be. So I'm going to go to the right-hand side. We're going to shift into neutral again. Hands off the brake. We're just going to press and hold the little P button there again. Car's going to back us up. Now there's nobody behind us, so it makes this a little bit easier. But if we were in a true parallel park situation, really nice because it'll back us up enough, crank the wheel as we can see there, so that we can get out of the space. So as you can see, we are ready to go. So we're finished, take control, so we're hands on the wheel, and the system's ready. So because it's cranked the wheel out, all we need to do is just give it a little bit of gas. Oh, you got to throw it in neutral. You got to go from neutral to drive, and then we give it a little bit of gas. Perfect. And next up, what I want to do is a perpendicular park. So perpendicular parking, we should have quite a few spaces available this side of the lot. So we're just going to hit the little P button there. Again, we're going to go active park assist. We're going to go to perpendicular park instead, which is the middle option. And this time I want to look on the left-hand side. So what I'm going to do, look on the left-hand side, and we're just going to start driving and follow what the vehicle does or says. Perfect. Oh, that took a minute. All right, so it's found a spot though. So same idea. All we're going to do is shift it into neutral, foot off the brake. We're going to press and hold The little P button there, and we're going to let the car do its thing. Oh, that's cool. It picked up the spot that I had passed a minute ago. Oh, that's cool. I didn't think it was going to pick up that spot. Neat. Huh. Mach E, good job. Good job, little fella. And one of the cool things is that on the screen itself, the park assist screen, as it's backing up, there's a little countdown timer to let us know how quickly it's going in between each mode as we go. So each step, I should say. So it's pulling us forward. We can see there's a little countdown timer going. And literally doing everything. Like my feet are both up right now. It's taking over the steering wheel, it's taking over the gas brake, and all I'm doing is hitting the little P button there. So nice active park assist where we don't have to do anything ourselves. It's the vehicle actively doing everything for us instead. But I love all the little countdown timers. It's letting us know exactly what's going on as it's doing it. And 3, 2, 1, we should be good to go. So park assist system's finished. We hit our little X button or just take it over the steering wheel and it's going to get rid of that message. So that is pretty neat. We've got our added parking aid. So as we throw the vehicle into reverse, we've got our added parking aid, and whether or not that one shows up is going to be a matter of preference. We've got our valet mode. So what we're going to do is enter in a 4-digit number there. So something nice and difficult like 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's going to lock the screen out. So with the exception of the audio controls along the bottom, you can't do anything else in the vehicle whatsoever. You do have to re-enter that 4-digit number in order to unlock. One of the big benefits of doing that is if you're going to have a valet driver, if you just want just basic protection for the vehicle. So if somebody breaks into the vehicle, whatever the case may be, all of your previously saved destinations and things like that just wouldn't be accessible. We've got our settings option there as well. And as you can see, series of options, but our sound and audio currently is disabled because we've got the system turned off. On it goes. All right, so I love it. So we've got our rocker there as well as our power button in the very middle. We'll get to that one in just a bit. But starting off with our sound along the very top, we've got our tone settings, so our treble, mid-range, bass. I typically find with the treble turned down a little bit and the bass cranked a bit more with mid-range right in the middle, that's usually going to be a good spot for the vehicle for sound. Now, inside of the Mach E, we've got a few different options for sound. It's going to be either a 6-speaker or a 10-speaker system. The 10 speakers are Bang & Olufsen, and it sounds amazing. We'll get to an audio test in a second. But we can easily adjust the balance and fade there as we want to. So if you're the only one in the vehicle, have it focus on you. If there's multiple people, you can kind of adjust as necessary there, or just reset it to bring it back to center. We've also got our speed compensated volume. So as we go faster, what we can get the vehicle to do is automatically adjust the speed of volume, I should say, for us. And we've also got our mode, so either a stereo or a surround sound. Moving into our radio, we've got a few other options there. So we've got different presets available. I always recommend just going to our max available presets, and I'll show you why in a second. We've got our HD radio as well as our text. So I said make sure that you go for max available presets because if we go to our radio there, we can have all of our presets show up. So as you can see there, up to 30 individual presets, and it's a mix of AM, FM, SiriusXM. Now here's one of the cool things. If we go into a SiriusXM station for a second, we go back to our settings there, back into our audio settings, and now this button has become a SiriusXM instead. We've got our subscription info. We can personalize it so we can create unique listeners, which is useful because if you've got multiple people driving the vehicle, you can have it set up so that everyone's got their own unique profile, which is amazing. So if you want to have all of your presets and your phone and things like that saved, you can create an individual profile there, or you can create one strictly for SiriusXM instead. We've got all of our different favorites, so we can kind of add currents. We can add in different ones as available. We can see our active listening history, which there shouldn't be much because this thing is pretty much brand new. Pretty much brand new. It's got like 40 kilometers on it, so it's literally a brand new vehicle. Yeah, so listening history, nothing there that's loading up. We've got our different settings. We can block explicit content. We can reset all of our history as well. We've got some basic options for help and support. And then we've got our preset rows as well. And one of the great things being a Ford owner, so for 2022 Ford vehicles, you will get 3 months of included service for SiriusXM. If you've already got a SiriusXM subscription, all you need to do is call them up with all of your info under help and support, and they'd be able to transfer that subscription over to the new vehicle. Next up, we've got our phone list, and as you can see there, so we don't have any phones that are currently connected, and connecting a phone is very straightforward. So we're going to start off on the iPhone side of things, and very straightforward. And one of the cool things is that this system, it's wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, but we'll get to that one in a second. Firstly, all we're going to do on our phone, just make sure that Bluetooth is turned on, and we're going to go add phone.
Search for your vehicle on your device and select it once it is found.
And we're just following the directions there, so we're just waiting for, there we go, Mach E to show up.
Confirm that the pin displayed on sync matches the pin displayed on your device.
Pin numbers match up, which is great. Do we want to allow our contacts and favorites to sync up? Yes, so we can either allow or say no. I'm just going to hit no for now. And
for your safety,
we're connected.
Please stay alert to changing road conditions and use Sync's voice-activated features while your vehicle is in motion.
Perfect. So we're fully connected right now. So do I want to use CarPlay with the Mach E? So we can set it up right now if we want to, which, I mean, if you're a fan of using CarPlay, that's amazing. But we're going to get to this screen for a second first. We have our 911 assist. Always recommend turning that one on. And the big reason why, you can see it here. So if you're involved in a significant crash, your vehicle's automatically going to dial 911 for you as long as you're connected over Bluetooth. Now, one of the great things is that if your phone hasn't reconnected, as long as your Bluetooth on your phone is turned on, if you're in that accident, the vehicle will still attempt to reconnect to your previous device, which is amazing. But we're going to make sure that's connected and just hit finish there, and we're connected. Now, do we want to use CarPlay with the Mach E? Yes, we're going to use CarPlay there. And support, so we'll have to either enable or disable, so we're going to enable. Connecting to CarPlay should take a few seconds there. 5, 4, 3, 2, boom. All right, so we're connected to my phone. And as you can see there, we've got my recent contacts, we've got my keypad there. And that's going to be, well, it's not Apple CarPlay, I should say. It's just going to be our base phone there. And then along the very bottom, we press this little icon, and that's going to get us to our base screen. We can press there again in order to actually get into Apple CarPlay. So we can kind of swipe across screens if we want to that way, left versus right side. Along the main part of Apple CarPlay, we've got our Waze app, so we can just kind of click in there if you want to jump into Waze. Super responsive, which is great. You can search for addresses, you've got your favorites, and then you can also use our voice as well instead if we want to. And then we can swipe across, we can search our phone. We've got Apple Maps, we've got Google Maps, and we've got Waze that can all get used through this middle screen. Now, we can't go complete full screen, but if we press the button along the top right-hand side, that's going to extend it down a little bit, which gives us a little bit more of a fuller screen experience. But if we click on Waze, like big, beautiful map application, this is amazing. Obviously, we can't take up the full screen real estate, but it takes up quite a little bit of space, which is very nice. We can press the collapse button there to get back down, and press this button to jump into the main screen here again. But there are a series of great apps that are available. As you can see there, we've got our podcast, we can easily search, we can look at our library, and a number of other things. So if we want to go through a few different options there, we can press back to our main one. We've got our audiobooks and a few other things. Now, one of the great things about the Apple CarPlay side of things is that if we go to our general settings, we go to CarPlay, we go to our vehicle, we can forget the car if we want to, we can disable CarPlay, or we can customize the launcher. So let's say if you listen to your podcast more, watch this. Okay, so if you prefer podcasts, boom, we can move that to the front. Audiobooks, boom, we can also move that to the front as well. So you've got quite a few options. It's interesting now, looking how we can go full screen when we're not. You can see that the icons are spaced out nicely versus it's kind of squished like a teeny little bit there. It still does look very nice on this screen though. Nice high resolution. I think it looks fantastic. But you've got the option to easily do that, so you can adjust out our icons as necessary. We just do a press and hold on the hamburger icon, move it up and down as we'd like. We can also completely remove things, so we remove our calendar, and that's gotten rid of it completely. It is saved along the very bottom, so we can add it back in if we want to, or we can just do reset in order to reset this whole thing and bring us back to our factory defaults instead. So we look inside, as you can see, it's brought us back and reset everything for us. So if you've customized it too much, you've got that option, but that's the basics of using Android Auto or Apple CarPlay inside of this. And as you can see there, it's very, very straightforward to be able to do it. We can press this button along the very top, which brings us back to our main phone list. So we can add in another phone, or if we want to, we can disable CarPlay. We can look at my phone settings, which we can't really see too many of them right now, but if we connect to Bluetooth again, so we're going to disconnect to CarPlay temporarily. Watch this. All right, and we're connected over Bluetooth again. We can see along the very top-hand side, and we've got this message that comes up just because I didn't give access to the vehicle to download my contacts and call lists. But we hop inside there, we've got my phone settings now, and we've got a series of other options. So we can manage contacts, so we can sort contacts by name, we can re-download as well if we want to. And back up from there, we've got our ringtones, so if we want to use unique ringtones, we've also got options for messaging, or we can completely remove the phone if we want to. I'm not going to do that one because I want to show you what happens if we've got multiple phones connected, but that's the process in order to set up Apple CarPlay inside of this vehicle. Right, now setting up an Android device is the exact same process. So on our phone, all we're going to do is just jump into Bluetooth, and we're just going to hit Add Phone on the vehicle.
Search for your vehicle on your device and select it once it is found.
Perfect, so we're going to connect. Okay, do we want to allow contacts? We're going to skip that for now. Same thing with messages. We're going to skip.
For your safety, please stay alert to changing road conditions and use Sync's voice-activated features while your vehicle is in motion.
Okay, so as you saw there, very easy in order to be able to connect. Then we can either enable or disable Android Auto, I should say. So we're going to enable there. I love how easy this is. It's so good. A few seconds in, we just have to continue. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, we are fully connected there. So we've got our settings that are available. So we've got all of our basic settings there. We've got our available route options. So if we want to avoid motorways, toll roads, ferries, so many things. We've got our little icon along the top, which is going to bring us back into this main setting. We can swipe up to get rid of that. And then we've got a series of options along the bottom tray. So we've got our music, notifications, or our Google Assistant. I didn't mention it on the Apple side, but even on this one, we could push this in order to be able to get into our Google Assistant. Or we can also press the voice command prompt on the steering wheel. So we just do a press and hold in order to launch into our assistant that way. So that's the same on the Google and on the Apple side of things, which is amazing. Well, I should say technically Android and the iPhone side of things. But series of options available. We can jump into our music along the very bottom there. We can press this button in order to jump into this main screen. Now, one thing, this phone does have Waze installed, but as you can see there, we currently don't have support for Waze on the Sync 4 system inside of the Mach E. Hopefully, and like fingers crossed it comes soon, it's just not available as an option just yet, but we still do have our Google Maps there as an option, and we also can always rely on our factory navigation. Now, we do have some flexibility, like we've got the option of customizing this screen if we want to a degree, because we don't have the same amount of options that we do on the Apple side of things, but we have a little bit of flexibility with Android Auto. All we have to do on our phone is search for Android Auto. So if we go into our search bar there, we're just going to search for Android Auto. We're going to go into our settings, and we can see what car we're currently connected to. We've also got the option of customizing the launcher. Now, customizing the launcher is easy, so all we do is just do a press and hold, and we can drag and drop. But as you can see there, it's not going to restart. We actually have to restart Android Auto in order for the changes to take into effect there. So we have to shut it down on both the phone and the vehicle in order for it to work. But we still have the flexibility of customizing it if we want to. We've got our Google Voice detection there as well. We've got our day-nighttime mode for maps. We can disable weather. We've got our Google Assistant there. We can also disable wireless Android Auto if we want to. So we've got quite a few different options that are available. Now, like I said, not every app is going to work through this screen. So this phone has a few other apps installed, and as you can see there, we are limited. Now, there are full lists that are available for the Android and the iPhone side of things, so what apps are compatible. Check down below in the description in order to see the full list of apps that are available. But like I said, we still do have quite a few options available. If we press the button along the very top, we've got the Galaxy and then the iPhone. So if we move through here, let's connect to Bluetooth for a second. So we're going to disconnect from Android Auto. I'll show you why. So we're connected again. We've got settings now, and we've got a series of options very similar to what we saw on the iPhone side, with the exception now of this. So we've got our favorite device. So if you've got multiple phones connected, we do have the option of setting this up as the favorite device. And one of the big benefits there, so whatever one is the favorite, if both phones are in the vehicle with our Bluetooth turned on, it's who's going to get connection priority. And that's whoever we have set up as our favorite along our devices there. So we do have a few different options that are available, just a matter of personal preference. Deleting a phone is also very straightforward. So if we go into our phone settings there, we can remove phone. Yes, that's remove the iPhone there. And then Galaxy, same idea. So we're going to go Galaxy settings, remove Galaxy, yes, 3, 2, 1, and we are fully disconnected. And it's that simple being able to set up an Android and iPhone device inside of this vehicle. Next up, let's look at our charging options. So quite a few options that are available there. We can see our current status. So how many kilometers do we currently have left? Obviously, if you're in the States, that'll say miles. We can see our battery percentage there as well. The charge that we've got, the kilometers that we have, are going to be based off of the version of the vehicle that we're in. So obviously, if you're in the Select rear-wheel drive, that's going to be very different than the GT Performance Edition. So you do have quite a few options. We can also do a reset if we want to. So all we do is just do a press and hold. Resetting, 3, 2, 1, and it's reset all of our history there. We've also got our departure and comfort, which is really, really useful. So I'm going to kind of explain each one to you here. So our departure and comfort, if you have your vehicle connected to your phone, to your charger, not your phone charger, if you've got your vehicle connected to your charger at home, we can set up the times that we leave at every single day. So let's say Monday we leave at, let's say 7 o'clock a.m., we can have it come on for medium, cool, or warm at that specific time. And if we have, let's say Wednesday, same idea, we leave at 7 o'clock a.m., we want it to be nice and cool there as well. So we can set our different times. So one of the benefits there is that if you're leaving from work or from home, whatever the case may be, at the same time every day, you can have the vehicle preconditioned while you're plugged in. So you're not worrying about the battery there instead, but you've got the option to select either all of them or an individual one as you go. So we can have our arrival or departure times for each of them, and we can set whether it's going to be a cool, medium, or warm inside of the cabin when the vehicle turns on. We just go clear selected, so we can clear all there if we want to. But like I said, really beneficial if you're going to be leaving the same time during the day. And we've also got our locations there, so we can add in multiple locations. You can edit out as necessary. You can select which amount you want each location to be charged up. So how much do you want to charge at each individual location? We hit next, and then we select our charge window. So all we have to do is just do a tap, and then we can just kind of do a drag, and we can select what times we want to have the vehicle charging from. So if your off-peak rates are going to be during that time, we select as necessary. We hit next and then save, and then it'll update that for us as well. So we can literally select however many locations that we want to by moving back through. So if you're going to be charging up at work, be charging up at home, whatever the case may be, we can have the vehicle automatically charge for us based off of these locations, which I think is amazing. And profiles there, we have quite a few different options that are available. So if you want to, I think it's so cool that we can add in so many different options. So we can add in our phones, we can link different key fobs and things like that. One of the big benefits of creating profiles is exactly that. We can have all of these different things saved specifically for your profile. So if you've got multiple people driving the vehicle, you've got the flexibility to kind of adjust whose settings are going to be available in each profile. We've now got our more advanced driver assistance settings. So remember, we had our basic ones back under our standard mode there. So we've got our base driver assistance settings, or we've got the option for the advanced settings there instead. Our auto hold settings, so that was our base one. That's the one that if we come to a complete stop, we take our foot off the brake, it's going to hold us in place. We've got a few different types of cruise control, so either our normal or the adaptive type. Our lane centering as well with a hands-free option. So that's part of the Ford Blue Cruise feature. So as you can see there, rather than having to worry about hanging onto your steering wheel there, it's literally going to keep you fully balanced in your lane as you go. So I love the fact that we've got this option as available as an option. We've got our prompts, and then we've also got our speed sign recognition. So speed sign recognition is fantastic, and it's based off of a tolerance level. So let's say if we have a tolerance of 0. If we've got an adaptive cruise turned on, and let's say it's at 100 kilometers an hour, if the speed goes from 100 to 80, it's automatically going to drop us down because we've got the tolerance level set at 0. So it's going to drop us down to that 80 kilometers instead. So you've got the option of using that if you'd like to. We've also got our speed limit assist. So if you want to get a speed warning there, you could. Our lane keeping system, so it's going to work 3 different ways. We've got our alert, aid, and then both. So the alert, we're going to get a little bit of a steering wheel shake, almost as if we're running over rumble pavement. The aid means it'll nudge us back into our lane, and the alert and the aid will do a little bit of both. We've also got our pre-collision assist system. So we do have the option of turning this thing off if we want to for active braking and evasive steering. Active braking, what that's going to do is if it senses a potential collision, it's automatically going to brake for you. Versus evasive steering, it essentially turns our steering wheel into like a hyperdrive mode, so hypersensitivity. So if there's a potential collision, you'd be able to get out of the way of the potential collision a little bit easier. We've got our rear view camera delay. So if we've got our rear view camera on and we go to drive forward, what it's going to do is keep that camera on for a few seconds. Our blind spot system lets us know if anybody's into the blind spot on either side of the vehicle. Cross traffic alert, if somebody's coming perpendicular from us as we go to back up, it's going to let us know of a potential collision. As we go to back up, if the vehicle senses a potential collision behind us, it's going to actively brake for us. And then we've got a driver alert that's tied into the lane keeping system. So if we start to veer over too many times, we're going to get an alert telling us we should probably take a break. Next up, we've got some advanced vehicle settings. So we can have the vehicle automatically powered down. So it's essentially a 30-minute max. Rear occupant alert. So as we go to turn the vehicle off, it's going to let us know to check the back seats. Easy entry exit means that we can have the vehicle automatically adjust our seats for us. And obviously that's built into the power seats, but it is nice that we've got that as an option. So what it's going to do is lower the seat and back it up so that it's easier to get in and out of the vehicle. MachE gives us the flexibility to create certain limitations based off of our key fob. So if you don't want the vehicle going past a certain speed, you don't want the radio to go past a certain volume, based off of a fob, you've got the flexibility to do it. We've got our serial number. We've got our alarm system set up. A few different options there for motion sensors and things like that. remote start setup. So we don't have the flexibility of remote starting through the key fob whatsoever. It's all going to be done through the FordPass app on our phones. So we do have that flexibility, which is fantastic. Now, the FordPass app is available on both the Android and the iPhone side of things, but it gives us a lot of flexibility. So we'd be able to do things like lock and unlock the doors if we want to roll the windows up, down. If we want to, like I said, remote start, we've got the flexibility using the FordPass app on our phones. But if we remote start, what happens? So we can toggle the whole system off if we want to. Do we want the climate based off of our last settings, or do we want to let the vehicle determine what the cabin temperature should be? Do we want to have the vehicle determine if our heated steering wheel and seat should be on? And then do we want the remote start to last for 5, 10, or 15 minutes? So you've got quite a few options there. And we've also got our windows. So we do have the flexibility of using the key fob in order to roll the windows up and down. Let's hop outside and I'll show you how that's done. And doing it is actually very straightforward. So in order to unlock them, or roll them down, I should say, we're going to press the unlock button twice. On that second button press, you're going to hold. So you're going to go 1, 2, and hold. Down they go. We can press the lock button to stop it part way, and then we just double button press again in order to keep it going. You can see there, and down they go, and that is as far down as the back windows go. And then rolling them back up is just as simple. So we press the lock button twice. On the second button press, we're going to hold. So we're going to go 1, 2, and hold. See those powers folding side view mirrors. And up these things go. Same idea, we can press the unlock button part way in order to pause it, or we just press that lock button again twice in order to complete the process. So that is a pretty great process. I love that it's so simple inside of the vehicle as well to do it. We've got our wipers. So courtesy wipe means that as we've got a wiper cycle going, at the end of the cycle, it's just going to take a second and then just go one more time to get rid of any excess liquid. Rain sensing wipers is straightforward. Our reverse wiper. So if we've got our front windshield wipers going and we put the vehicle into reverse, it's automatically going to turn on our rear wipers for us. So that's a useful feature to have on. We've also got our power lift gate, so we can enable or disable the switch on the outside of the vehicle. Different options for lighting, so we've got our auto high beam. What that means is that if the vehicle senses an oncoming vehicle, it's going to dim your high beams before bringing them back up again as that vehicle passes. Welcome lighting on the outside, and then when we go to lock the vehicle, do the lights just turn off, or do they stay on for 10 seconds, 20 seconds, or 120 seconds? We've got our different lock options, so auto unlock. When we go to turn the vehicle off, will the doors automatically unlock for us? Mislock chirp, if we don't have all the doors shut properly when we go to lock, it's going to give us a chirp letting us know about that. And we've got our walk away lock as well. So as we walk away from the vehicle, automatically going to lock the doors for us. And then some base ones like our inhibitors and things like that. When we go to remote unlock the doors, do all doors become unlocked, or is it just the driver's door? So you've got a few options available there. It's just basic safety setting. We've got our mirrors there as well with an auto fold capability. Our door keypad code, so there's a 5-digit number on the outside of the vehicle we can use in order to be able to unlock if we need to. But at the same time, you do have the flexibility of setting up your own 5-digit unique code if you wanted to go that route. We do have a tire mobility kit, so the goop in there is good for 4 years, and it's going to let us know as it needs to be replaced. We've got our backup start password. So we do have the flexibility of starting up or using our phone as a key, depending on the version of the vehicle that we're in. So this one does have that available as an option. And all you're going to do through your FordPass app, once you have that set up, we then just have a backup start password. So the benefit there is that if you don't have your key fob on you and your phone's died, you just get into the vehicle using that 5-digit number, you enter in your backup password, and you're set to go. So it's very, very straightforward to do. We've got our braking coach, our low battery indication at 30, 50, or 80 kilometers. Obviously, it's going to be miles if you're down in the States. We've got our EV driving history, and then we can also show our speed, so miles versus kilometers per hour, and that's going to be changed in the cluster screen of the vehicle. But that's all of the advanced settings for the vehicle. Moving into general settings, we can change it out to English, Spanish, French, Celsius, Fahrenheit. If we want to go to kilometers or miles per gallon, whatever the case may be. The beeping, we've got the flexibility to turn that off. We've got some different software licenses. We can submit feedback, or we can do a reset. 2 different things. FordPass Reset, so that app that I was telling you about, if you need to kick somebody off of the app, all we're going to do is go into the vehicle here, FordPass Reset to reset it, or we can do a master reset. So if you're selling your vehicle, you can just do a reset of everything to bring it back to the factory defaults. Now, display. As big and as bright and as beautiful as this display is, if you find it to be a little bit too much, we can go to a base calming screen there instead. So as you can see, nice kind of highlights there. Button press to bring it back to life. We hop back inside into our display. Back down we go, so we've got that. We've got our brightness that we can adjust from there as well if we want to, so we can adjust there if we'd like. We've also got the flexibility of adjusting the brightness of the screens. There's a button just by your left knee. We can adjust that way if we want to, or we can just do a base reset. We've got a few different options for the cluster, so we can go for an auto mode, light, dark, etc. And that's going to, yeah, you can see the screen kind of going crazy there as I adjust between different modes. So you've got a few different options that are available. I personally like the look of the dark mode, so it's going to be a matter of preference on that one. And from there, we've also got some options for this screen. So this technically is in the light mode, so we've got either the light or the dark. We can have it, that's nice. We can have it go to one or the other, and we can permanently lock out one or the other. It is based off of how bright it is outside, so it's automatically going to update it, switch into the light or dark, depending on how bright it is outside. Our clock, we can change out, obviously minutes, hours, AM, PM, 24-hour mode, and then we can have it automatically update our time based off of our GPS location. Connectivity, we've got a few options there. So connected vehicle features. So you can see quite a few options available. We can make, if we wanted, we can share vehicle data with Ford. We could disable our SiriusXM. Options for Bluetooth, so we can change our vehicle name there. So if you want to, Bob's Mustang Mach E, you can change it out if you want to. Change it out to Sally, etc. We can toggle our whole Bluetooth system on or off from there. We've got our wireless app projection there. We're going to hit no. And we've also got our Wi-Fi network. So if we want to connect at home, we can do that very simply. Once we're connected at home, up along the very top, we will notice that that's now available as an option if we're connected to Wi-Fi. But we can easily toggle on or off. You can see there, it hides it away when we have Wi-Fi disabled. And then we've also got our Wi-Fi availability there. Vehicle hotspot, so the vehicle is equipped with an onboard modem. It's good for up to 10 individual devices, but we can disable it if we want to. You do need a data-only plan through your cell phone provider in order to be able to use it, but it's nice that it is available there as an option. Options for getting started, we've got our data usage, different settings, so if we want to, we can change out the password, or we can show the password, we can change out the names and things like that as well. So we can change out our network name, passwords, etc. So it's really nice because if you want to, if you don't have devices that aren't cellular compatible and strictly can run off of Wi-Fi, we can get a data-only plan for our vehicle, and it's strictly going to be vehicle data, which is amazing. And from there, we've got our system updates. So the vehicle is equipped with automatic over-the-air updates. As you can see there, we are fully up to date, and we can also schedule updates. So I definitely recommend doing this at home when you've got some time, because the files can be fairly large. It might take like 2 to 4 hours for this thing to update. So if you don't want to have to worry about this thing updating at random times, just make sure that you set it up for certain times of the day. Like if you know you're going to be home at midnight, just have it done at midnight there instead, like on a Friday or like a Monday afternoon or whatever the case may be. So you can easily select what day of the week you want to have these things automatically update the vehicle. Mobile apps, as you can see there, we've got our compatible app lists, our departure and comfort. So we saw that one earlier, but we can kind of go into our advanced settings there again in order to be able to edit all of these things out. So we saw there, we can select the different times that we're going to be departing from home. So we can have the cabin preconditioned if we want to. 911 assist, we did see that one earlier. So we do need a phone connected to the vehicle, but it's going to automatically dial 911 if it recognizes a potential collision. Our Ford Assistant, so that's going to give us the flexibility of using a more advanced assistant. So we could press the voice command prompt on the steering wheel in order to bring up all of these options, and that's our command list, or we can have it listen for a wake word. So we say listen to wake word, we're going to have this as the wake word, so all we say is, okay Ford. And as you can see there, it brings up this instead. So if we want to, we can change songs, radio stations, and a number of other things using our voice. We can turn on our advanced mode, which means we won't get as many notifications. Do you want to call such and such person? Yes or no. And then we've got our command list along the very top. One of the amazing things with the Sync 4 screen is how much stuff we can do. We can toggle the climate on or off. We can adjust as necessary there. We can also change out our media. So if you wanted to change to USB media, we've got the flexibility to do it. You want to change to AM, FM, SiriusXM, whatever the case may be, you've got that option. And there are so many different options that are available inside of this. So definitely recommend if you've got a few hours, 20 minutes, half an hour to kill, you want to learn more about your vehicle, go to the command list. You can see exactly what you can say to your vehicle in order to be able to adjust settings on the fly. We've also got some options for ambient light. And one of the cool things is that we've got the option in some versions of the vehicle for different color lights. And those are going to show different places inside the vehicle on top of that. So it is nice that we've got the option of selecting the color ambient light that we've got as well. So it is kind of neat. Like we can kind of adjust from there. We can adjust how dark or how bright it is on top of that. And it is neat that we can also control what color it is. So as you can see there, it's going to be just in the front underneath the pedals, which is kind of nice all at the same time. So it's nice and subtle, obviously very easy to see later on at night. But that's going to be everything you need to know about the controls and the settings inside of this. Swiping the screen up from there, that's everything in the car icon. Next up, we press that little button along the top. We can edit out and create unique profiles. We can jump into our radio now. So jumping into radio, we've got AM, FM, SiriusXM. If you had a USB stick with MP3s, that would show up. If your phone was connected, we could use that as an available source on top of that. But we're currently in SiriusXM, so the button along the very top, that's going to let us change it out so we can set a notification for either the song or for the artist. We've also got the option of seeking there, so we can look at different categories and different stations. And from there, we're going to go back down, and we've also got all of our different profiles. So we can go to our different settings there, set up profiles. We can look at different listener settings and things like that. We can look at related content, and then we can also just kind of do a swipe in order to look at our different presets. So if we go to AM, FM, Sirius XM, whatever the case may be, very straightforward. We can press this button in order to be able to change to a station there if we want to. We can also just press the voice command prompt if we want to change to a different station that way instead. But I just have to, just because Taylor Hawkins unfortunately passed away, but Dave Grohl, Foo Fighters, amazing band. But let's listen to this for a second. So amazing, amazing band, amazing sound, amazing song. Across the board, it's amazing. And that was part of the 10-speaker Bang & Olufsen sound system. I don't know if you remember earlier, but the sound settings there, we did adjust so that these things are slightly different. So we do have our treble mid-range bass, so treble's down, bass is up a little bit. So we've got a nice beefy sound inside of this thing. But as you can see there, this thing's currently not saved as a preset, but if you want to save it, you just change to your station, press and hold any of the available slots, and as you can see there, it's now saved at station 4 instead. So it's very straightforward in order to be able to change out. We can actively seek this way if we want to, so just a button press to seek that way instead. We've got a few different options that are available. Moving back, click on our radio again, launches us into this, but we go to our hamburger icon. We can jump back into our phone if we want to, or we can jump into our navigation. So this is the factory navigation, which is very easy to use. So if we want to, we can just go where to, and we can look at our home work address so we can explore. We can look at some recents. We can search by GPS coordinates if we want to, or we just start randomly typing in an address and giving it a second, and it's going to give us all of the available options available there. And let's type in a little bit more. Perfect. Old Faithful. Click through, we can save it as a favorite, or we can hit go. We've got a few other options available there, so we can look at, see if there's any traffic or alerts available. We've got our parking, any EV that's available, anything else that's close by to our destination. So if we want to see if there's any parking, chargers, coffee, whatever the case may be. And, oh, I got rid of the screen that I searched for. Oh, that's unfortunate. That's a little bit of a bug, I would think. All right, perfect. So we've got this. And from there, we've got all our chargers nearby, and then we've got some options for route settings. So if we want to, we can turn off our prompts. We've got our different views there. We can have a faster time or a shorter time or the most eco-friendly route. We've got different options for avoidance. So if we want to avoid things like highways, toll roads, different options. So many different things that are available there. And we've also got our custom avoidances. So if we want to set up unique ones, we've got the flexibility to do it. And we just hit X out of that. And from there, that's the base route settings there. So we just hit select. And we've got a few different options there. So as you can see, we've got boom, route, and we're going to hit go. We can also select different destinations if we want to, so routes along the way.
Laws. Be alert and use voice commands while driving.
Thank you, Car. All right, so we've got a few different... So we've got a few options available there, so we can select what type of map view we've got. We can press this little button to see exactly what's going on with the route. We can rotate ourselves that way as well, or we can do a little bit of a fuller screen by pressing the button along the top right-hand side, or just bring us back into center again. We can hit X, and we can either cancel out the entire route or the next waypoint there, so we're just going to exit out, cancel the route out, and we can jump back into searching, exploring, whatever the case may be. So using factory navigation inside of this is really straightforward. If we press this, we've got our up ahead, so exits, we've got our different parking, or we've got our settings that are available, which we've already seen these ones as we were looking. We've got our base user data, so we can export or delete. We've got our notifications, different options for traffic. Search, we can search different options there for different coordinates and things like that. We've got our guidance options. So we saw that, so we do want the fastest time, the most eco-friendly route, whatever the case may be. And then we've got different options for map and vehicle. As I go backwards, map and vehicle, we can also look at different installed maps, so we can make sure we're currently up to date on all of the different options there. And then we can look at our base about in order to see exactly what's going on for our system status and things like that. But that's everything about the factory navigation inside of the Mach E. But as you can see there, very straightforward. Along the very bottom, we can also see all of our different options. So if we want to show our location, distance to arrival, etc., we can see what city we're currently in. And go back, and let's exit out. And then we've also got our current elevation there. So it's kind of neat that we've got so many different options. But that's everything about factory navigation inside of the vehicle. As we start to move down, so we've got a series of different tabs that are available, and these are the ones that we've recently looked at. So one of the cool things is that if we want to, we can just push, and that's going to push up that as an available option. And actually, you know what I realized? We didn't go to everything at the top there. So let's finish that up first. So along the very top, we've also got, we've got our active tire pressure, which, I mean, we saw that there and there as well. So we can see we're just out of balance a little bit on the right side. We've got our trip energy. So we can see as we make different trips, like this is exactly what's going on with the trips that we've made for our trip 1 versus trip 2 counter. And we can just do a reset there as well. How's my driving? So we can see what's going on with driving versus accessories versus our temperature and then how's my driving? So as we go to drive, we can see what energy we're using for each thing for acceleration, deceleration versus speed. So it is kind of nice. We've got that as an available option. Button along the top, we've got the option of switching between active media. All right, so as of right now, no device is paired, but if we did have, like I mentioned, so either our phone's connected, USB stick with MP3s, which show up as an available media source. We can button press to get into Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, which we don't have phones connected, so we can't use that. But we also have a fully digital owner's manual as well. So if you're getting any sort of weird messages on your screen, your cluster screen, your media screen, you're not sure, you can do a search that way if you want to. You can look at categories for some basic information, etc. So there are tons of different options that are available inside of this thing. Moving back, we've also got a few different apps that are available. So we've got some base blocks, which are only usable when the vehicle's stopped. So we could easily start game there. Park. So we've got that as an, oh, hold on, this is what I'm using. Boom, I'm gonna go here, there, there, Oh no, I got done and messed up. But you've got so many different things as an available option. Oh, this is terrible. I gotta try this again. But pretty straightforward to use that blocks game. We've got the option of sketching out as well too. So if you want to, there we go, perfect. So we do have our Mach E. Boom. We can save out from there. We can go a fuller screen if we want to. Or we press the button along the very top to go to tiles. So we've got quite a few different options available there. Now we do also have, so if we go full screen again, we've got all of these different options along the bottom. So this thing is actually dynamic and it updates it based off of our current, the most recently used tabs. So as of right now, you can see that the radio's not there, but if we use the radio, we hit radio, watch this. It's moved the blocks and the sketches over there for us instead. So it's whatever one you've recently used that are going to show up along the bottom. We can just do a press, or if we want to, we can do a swipe up instead, and that's going to push that up instead. So we've got quite a few different options that are available inside of this thing. But as we start to move down, so we do have our climate control that's built right into the screen. Dual zone climate control, so we can have it set obviously different for driver passenger side. These things will automatically go away, so we could push the button there, or we can just press, and then in a second it's going to go away. We can have the vehicle determine what the climate should be automatically. We can have our AC on off. We can also have it going to either our windshield, face, or feet, any sort of combination there. We've got our e-heat, our max air conditioning, air circulation buttons as well, or we can turn the whole system off. Now, dual at the very bottom, it's going to default to whatever the driver's side is. But let's say if we've got the passenger set up for something different, so as you can see there, it's something different for the passenger versus the driver. We just hit that dual button and it automatically defaults to whatever the driver's side is. Along the very bottom, we've got our heated seats there, so we can adjust as necessary for both the driver and the passenger side. We can turn our heated steering wheel on off there as well. We've got our base fan control, so we can adjust from there if we want to. Rear window, or max windshield defroster, and then our rear window defroster. And then as you saw, we've got our volume rocker there, so a nice rotary dial. And then we can also turn the audio off completely just by pushing in the very center, and we've got a nice animation when we do that. And as we start to move down, so as you can see there, right along the very back, we do have 2 USB ports, so USB, USB-C. There is a wireless charge pad available there. So if your phone supports wireless charging, as you can see there, we are lit up and we are charging. Now, this is a Samsung S9 Plus, so it's a fairly big phone, but let's use this thing for a second. So we're gonna go iPhone 7 Plus, which is roughly the same size as the iPhone Pro, 13 Pro Max, and there's still a little bit of give take on both sides. So if you had the Pro Max, Samsung S21, etc., it'll be able to comfortably fit inside of the wireless charge pad there. And then this whole tray, if we want to, we can also lift up as necessary to clean this thing out. As we move down a little bit from there, we do have 2 individual cup holders, nice carbon fiber look to it, and we do also have this tray that's fully removable as well on the inside there. Down from there, we do have a few other buttons. So we've got our park assist button, so the vehicle can help us out with parallel perpendicular parking. We've got our 4-way blinkers, and then our electronic parking brake. And then we've got our selector switch there to figure out what gear we're in. So we've got our park, reverse, neutral, drive, and then our low gear. So a few different options that are available inside of this thing. Now, one other thing to point out, we do also have, so this tray, just to the other side of the tray, and just to the other side of the tray, you may just be able to make it out there. Let's brighten you up a tiny little bit. Boom, nice and bright. There we go. You can see that we've got another little compartment along the very bottom there. So nice amount of storage space kind of on the top and on the bottom, which is always a nice thing if you need to store some things. There is also this armrest, so we can move that up. It looks like it probably should be like a little jump seat, which is kind of neat, but fur baby maybe could fit, but it's a little tight. There also is this tray that we can slide open and closed, and inside of there, we've got a 12-volt power point. So quite a few power points inside this thing, which is fantastic. Moving up overhead, we've got our auto-dimming rear view mirror. This one also has controls for our lights. We can easily toggle these things on and off. Typical Ford styling. We also do have our sunglasses holder. We've got a business card holder. We've also got the HomeLink system, so universal garage door opener. We've got our vanity mirror that also has built-in lights, and then this thing extends out to block all of the sun. So let me just get you out of the way there. And when I do that, so I'm gonna go all the way down and back, but look at this, blocks out all the sun that might be hitting your eyes. Now, I'm 6 feet tall, and with me 6 feet tall, the seat all the way back, I've got, what's that? Almost 6 inches, like a little over 6 inches of headspace inside of this thing. So 6'4", 6'5", you'll probably comfortably be able to sit inside of this vehicle. Now, with me being 6 feet tall, so the way that I would normally have it set up, so kind of something like this, I still have a good amount of clearance, like 4.5, almost 5 inches of headspace, which is fantastic. Now, one thing, this thing has a fixed panoramic sunroof, and it looks fantastic. Now, that panoramic roof is not standard across the entire vehicle lineup, but it's amazing. So if you're in the select version, it's just going to be a hardtop instead, very similar to the fastback Mustang, versus in the premium, we've got that full panoramic glass, and it opens it up. It looks absolutely beautiful. I love it. I love the look of it. Love the features, the functionality. We've got some basics like our handles on the driver passenger side for the first and second row. And trust me, the power inside of this thing, you are absolutely going to want to hang on. Maybe not so much as the driver, but for the passengers, it's going to really come in handy. But like I said, overall features, styling-wise inside of this thing, Ford has done a fantastic job at the price point they've done it at. Now, the price point conversation is an interesting one because in Canada, we've got options for rebates federally and also provincially. Now, provincially, with a little bit of a caveat, it's if you're a business owner. Now, federally in Canada, unfortunately, the Mach E is not available. It's not going to meet the program rebates, so you can't get any sort of rebate federally for this vehicle. But if you're a business owner, specifically in Ontario, I'm talking to you guys, so Ford introduced that when he came into power a couple years ago, but you're able to write off the entire capital cost of the vehicle first year of ownership. So check with your accountant on that one, but it's huge. It's a big incentive for business owners to go from a gas to an electric vehicle. So if you're contemplating this vehicle as a business owner, you definitely want to check with your accountant on that one about looking at writing the vehicle off. But there are some incentives available in BC and Quebec, I believe, on top of that. And then throughout the states, it's going to vary state to state and federally as well. But there are some good incentives available just depending on where you live. But like I said, that's the basics of the interior of the ride for the first row. Let's see what's going on in the second row. Hopping into the second row. So this driver's seat set up for somebody who's 6 feet tall. I'm 6 feet tall, and with the setup the way that it is, I've got a great amount of knee space, good amount of foot space, and with me sitting fully upright, I've got I'd say probably about 2 inches of headspace up overhead, because this has the one with the fixed panoramic sunroof, so it does drop it down a tiny little bit. But I mean, at the same time, like if you were a little bit taller, sit inside of the middle seat instead, and you're probably about 2.5 inches of space there. But overall, the styling inside of this thing equally as comfortable as the first row. One thing I forgot to mention up there, the seats. So across the entire Mustang lineup, it is going to be Ford's ActiveX seating material. So it's a faux leather seat. So we're not true leather inside of this thing, but still we've got our synthetic leather, but it feels really, really nice all at the same time. A few different options for colors on top of that, just depending on the trim level of the vehicle that you're in. But good amount of balance for the seats, which is fantastic. And a lot of the same highlights we saw on the door for the first row carry through to the second. That kind of cloth and looking at the speaker is kind of built in there. We've got a few speakers on top of that. Our white stitching looks really nice. Now, a few things feature-wise for the second row. We do have some cup holders back here. And then along both the driver-passenger door in the second row, we've got some space for, you can probably fit a small bottle along the side there. And then we've also got our anchors and tethers. So if you've got front-facing, rear-facing child seats, not gonna have an issue there. So we've got our top tethers in the back, we've got our anchors along the bottom there on top of that. So we could easily put front-facing, rear-facing seats inside of this if you've got kids. But outside of that, some other things to point out. Behind both the first row seats, so the driver-passenger seat, we've got some pockets there so we can store quite a few things if we need it. Down from there, we've got some base controls for the vent. So we can't actually control what the temperature is back here, but we can at least close off the vents if we want to. Now on top of that, moving down, there are 2 power points. So there's a USB, USB-C. So we've got 2 in the front and 2 in the back. There's a 12-volt power point in the armrest and then a 12-volt power point in the trunk area there on top of that. So quite a little bit of power. Like I said, features, styling-wise, this is great. The seats are super comfortable. This is really nice. Now, the seats are also fixed in place, so we don't have the flexibility. There's no levers. We can't move this thing forwards, backwards whatsoever. But I mean, like I said, me being 6 feet tall, I still got plenty of room back here. Up overhead, I still can't get over this panoramic roof. This is really cool. I love the look of this thing. And then from there, driver passenger side, we also have our holy crap handles, which you'll definitely need if you put this thing into the unbridled mode, especially if you get the GT and go into unbridled. Oh, crazy performance. But we've got our hooks there, driver passenger side in the second row. We've also got some base cabin control lights on top of that. Oh, the back end of the Mach E, equally as impressive as the front end. This one's a teeny little bit dirty, but at the same time, it still looks fairly nice. But one of the cool things is what you can do aftermarket. Like, you could look at just waxing if you want to, or you could look at doing ceramic coating. All sorts of different options, but the ceramic coating, the dirt pretty much falls off of the vehicle versus having to constantly apply wax. So if you're a bigger fan of a cleaner exterior for your vehicle, look at a ceramic coating aftermarket as an option. You can do it yourself, but better to take it into a shop so you don't have to worry about dust particles and things like that settling into the ceramic paint. But taking a peek, like I said, base styling is fantastic. We've got our sequential LED taillights, which is fantastic as we go, so they're gonna highlight individually. We've got our pony badge along the back, just underneath our backup camera. We do also have our rear windshield wiper, and then this one does have the reverse sensing system. Now, the reverse sensors, I guess technically they will be standard regardless, which is fantastic. So backing up, we've got that beeping, but if that drives you nuts, you've got the flexibility to turn it off anyways. Now, I did mention it earlier, this one does have the forward sensing system. The forward sensing system is part of the comfort technology package in the select trim level, and then it's going to be standard when you get into your higher trims. But overall functionality is fantastic. We do have our power liftgate. Let's have a peek inside. All right. So cargo dimensions for the vehicle are going to be showing up. So as you can see there, we've got a 60-40 split. So 60 on the driver, 40% on the passenger. So we can easily fold these things down if we need to. Now, this is obviously a very stark comparison to just the regular Mustang. Like, that thing has a good amount of trunk space, but the second row, you're not really gonna be able to fit people inside of the second row of a Mustang unless they're shorter than like 5'6". That's kind of like the sweet spot. But it is nice that inside of the electric, we have so much space because we can easily fold these seats down. Like, you could reach it from the back here and just kind of push down there, but we've got a nice split. So 60-40 split there, as I mentioned, so 60 driver, 40% passenger. I did lock the doors, which is why that didn't go down. But look at the difference there when we've got that second row fully folded down. So nice amount of width, depth, and height to the trunk area. And like I said, we've got the option of folding down one side or the other if we absolutely need it. A few other things to point out. The left side of the trunk, we don't have anything back there. So there's nothing, there's I guess technically a tiny little storage space along the left-hand side, but nothing else other than that. Along the right side, we've got our little pony badge there, so a little light. There's a 12-volt power point there on top of that. And then we've got our removable tray. So this is just the regular carpet liner. So it's gonna come standard inside of the Mach E, but we do also have the option for a thermoplastic rubber tray instead. So if you're a bigger fan of having that rubberized tray, you can do that at time of ordering from the factory, or you can do it aftermarket instead. But we've got this tray, fully removable. And with this thing removed, there isn't the option for a spare tire inside of the Mach E whatsoever. But we do have our inflator kit off to the left-hand side, and then we've got our charge cables off to the right. So I did mention we do have this 20-foot cable that's going to come standard from the factory. You've got the option as well for different charge ports and things like that when you're at home. But if you're looking for some links off to the different charge station options for home, check down below because I have put together a few links that you can look at if you want a home charging station versus just relying on this cable instead. Now, a few other things to point out. We also have a height selector here, which is fantastic because let's say if your garage isn't going to support the height of the trunk here or the liftgate, we can pull it down to whatever height we'd like to. And then we just press and hold this button. So a set button, we're going to hear a little chime. And then when we open and close the liftgate, it's not going to go past this height. On top of that, if you need to reset it or move it back up, all we do is move it to that same height again. We push and hold until we hear a little chime, it's about 5 seconds or so, and it's going to remember that new setting instead, which is fantastic if we need to create multiple heights for this thing. Also got this little button along the very top, and that's going to be the one that we can use in order to open and close the liftgate, which is very nice. Now you've got some different options for the liftgate depending on the version of the vehicle you're in, which is fantastic. And then you can make it out. We've also got this cargo shield. So cargo shield, easily removable. We've got some pieces along both sides there. And then there also is a little kind of release along the bottom there as well. So we just pop all these things out in order to easily remove that cargo shield. But it is nice because we can protect anything, or hide some things I should say, that might be in the trunk of the vehicle. Next up, taking a peek at the key fob for the vehicle. So it's unchanged from the 21 to the 22 model year. We've got our little pony badge along the back. We've got our unlock button, our lock button, our trunk release, as well as our horn or panic alarm button. Now on top of that, we do technically have this, but it's a blank emergency access key, so it's not going to do anything for you inside this vehicle whatsoever. But if we want to, we don't have the option of remote starting from the key fob either. What we need to do is actually use our cell phone, so we can use the Forward Pass app either on our Android or iPhone devices, and we can remote start that way if we'd like to. But we do have the flexibility of opening up the trunk directly on the key fob, and all we have to do is just double press that button. So we just press twice, and as you can see there, up it goes. And same idea, we can close it down by pressing that button again twice. And it's that simple, open and closing the trunk inside the vehicle. If you enjoy the content though, if you enjoy this format, give it a thumbs up, share it with your social networks, and comment down below. Let me know if you like it, if you hate it, if you want to see something different, or if you want a different type of car reviewed instead. If you are also in Durham region, GTA, in Ontario, you want to meet up, or if you've got a unique car, something different that you want me to shoot, reach out. All my contact information is down below. More than willing to talk you through any issues I may be having. I'd love to collaborate with different creators as well. But if you enjoyed this video, thumbs up, share it with your social networks, and think about subscribing. And until I see you next time, take care.